Okay, so everybody should got the approval. Yep, or good. Okay, so for today's ritual, we're in the new moon in Pisces, and there's a ton of stuff out there about what's happening in the new moon in Pisces, about leaving stuff behind, moving things forward. I'll show you where I share all this stuff. To screen share. Where's my screen share? Weird. Oh, there it is. That was annoying. Okay, I'm gonna share. So on my Instagram here, I'm not gonna say every full and new moon, but at most full and new moons, I try to create a highlight here of all the people I care about or people that I watch. So you would have to log in and sign up for it, but good to know. I have to be logged in. So it talks about everything that's going on for the new moon right now. This new moon is in Pisces. We're doing creativity. We're going into Ostara, which is the fall equinox, and that's the beginning of spring. In the true sense that we are now halfway exactly of light and dark. So there's exact same amount of daylight as there is night. In theory, I mean, everybody's a little different where they are, but that's the premise, and it was related to the planting season. And now this is the return of the sun. So that's kind of part of it, what Ostara is, and there's a lot of more information on that. And so I took the fact that it's not just the new moon, but it's also the spring equinox or Ostara on your witchy, hippie, new pagan side. And that's, again, was related to planting, living closer to the earth. The other thing about this is we're moving from Pisces into Aries. I'm trying to remember the Aries symbol. I think it's the ram. So we're moving from Pisces into Aries right now. So some people consider this the astrological new year. We were also back on February 17th. We moved in Chinese New Year, we moved into the sign of the fire horse. And there's a lot of information on that in the highlights on my Instagram too. And that's where I kind of keep a database of stuff. And then I send that out in my Substack, and I share that stuff as well. So this is what I put together for this whole ritual, and what I'm trying to think of is, moving from different parts of the year, different times of the year, from what's been hidden in the dark to what's in the light. So let's take a minute here to think about, okay, what has been hidden? So like the seed, right? The seed cracks open and it lets the sprout out. And up until now, all of that has actually taken place underground. And then the roots come out of the seed and root into the ground. So everything's taken place underground until then. So what's happening now is this plant is going to push out, and it's going to get exposed to the light, and it's going to be what's going to grow. So I'm going to spend a moment here. I'm just going to write one sentence, and this is where I'm going to ask you to participate. One sentence on what's ready to grow. What is ready to grow? And I thought of this earlier, and now it's going to take a minute. So what's going to grow for me is my occupation is my vocation. Or I could say, actually, I like it better, my vocation, because my vocation's always been there. So a vocation, just in case anybody doesn't know that reference, a vocation means your purpose, the thing that you're here to do in the world. The occupation is how we survive. My occupation has been a lot of things: the military, teaching, graphic design, serving tables, lots of different things to survive in the world. Vocation is my purpose, what I'm here to do. So you could say your occupation is how you get money to pay for your stuff. And your vocation is your why. So my vocation could be, I'm here to nurture and take care of my family while so I have an occupation. And what I'm asking for is my vocation, why I'm here. I'm here to teach. I'm here to teach. And I'm here to teach in a way that feels real and authentic, which means I had to leave the school system to teach creativity and spirituality and healing and the arts and how to live and move in the world. Even though I worked in an amazing school, which was an arts integrated school and a STEAM school, I was still stuck inside the matrix, inside the system. I had to grade kids on their art and, try to convince them that art is a vocation that they can do in the world. And even if they don't do art in the world, it's still going to be creative and help them get a job, which is all true. But I don't want to live in a world like that anymore. The earth I want to create allows people to survive and have their basic needs met through their vocation. We're always taught in school that we need food, water, air, shelter, and clothing to survive. If those are the basic needs, then why do we have to spend so much of our life working so hard just to provide those basic needs? And then if we just have those basic needs met, how much less stressed would we be as a people? How much less fear would we have as a people? And how much more would we be able to move through the universe? So for me, if teaching like this, if creating art with people, if doing circles, channeling, things that help people could become my occupation, the way I survive in the world, whether money is a thing or not. And not just survive, but, thrive. We're not here just to survive. We are here to thrive. And so the new earth that I want to create is a world where so the new earth I am not wanting to create, I am creating, is a place where people are thriving. Because when people are thriving, they can move from love and fear. And anybody who's telling you they're thriving when they're moving through the world from a place of fear is lying to themselves and hurting themselves and everybody else around them. That's where you get that expression that hurt people hurt people. And that's not true. Not all people hurt people hurt people. Some of us spend all of our time trying to heal enough to never pass that on to other people. So the idea of this is using creativity, using spirituality, using technology like Zoom and Substack and Instagram, Instagram, I'm going to patent that, Instamedia, I'm sure somebody has already, as a way to live out my vocation and not just my occupation, using the matrix without living in it, being in the world but not of it, so to speak, being as within, so without. So being able to do this. So again, my sentence is my vocation is my occupation. Does anybody want to share their sentence, or if you need a few minutes to think about it, or if you can want to at any point, you can dump it in the chat. You don't have to feel like you have to. So I'm just going to give everybody a few minutes here to think of their sentence that they want. Again, the thing that you're allowing to grow into the light now. And that requires a different perspective. So this plant is now having a perspective from the light instead of just the dark. And the thing that happens is when you turn on a light, you can see the shadows, right? So we got to understand that this, living this out, isn't just going to be sunshine and unicorn farts and rainbows and glitter. It's shadow. It's light, night and light. And that's really what's so beautiful about this, equinox moment that's coming up, and then, leaving behind in Pisces for the Ram. When I was an art teacher, I used to I had 4 whiteboards spread across my wall, so I could just draw out all of these things. So it's actually, this is a lot like what it's like for me to teach. So I'm going to try to stop talking for a minute and just let you all if everybody could give me a thumbs up or some sort of reaction, or just like, hey, I'm ready. When you got your sentence, let me know. In the meantime, I'm going to color this picture. So I got 1 thumbs up. Okay. All right. So once you've got this sentence written out, we're going to create a sigil with it. A sigil is essentially a symbol. It's super easy. And so I'm going to underline the first letter of each word, which gives me M, V, M, O. My vocation is my occupation. So I left out the basic words. So I just left these. You can leave in the I if you want, but you don't have to. It kind of depends on if you want it. I've been doing sigils for so long, I have to kind of slow myself down to. Everybody good on the premise? Wait, step 2. So step 1, step 2. My vocation is my occupation. You can give me a thumbs up or, yeah, I got it. Or heart. Cool. Everybody's there. All right. So the next step now is the sigil piece. So we've got an M, a V. I'm going to take my I out. I don't need it there, but you can leave it in if you want. And the idea now is you're going to turn this into a picture. I have my O, my V, my M, and my other M. See? And you can try it a couple different ways. It kind of looks like Wonder Woman, doesn't it? I didn't even realize that. I'm going to leave that one. That's probably one I'm going to pick. I'm going to try a couple more. Y'all see that? It's like totally like Wonder Woman. This one, I'm turning my M's upside down, and then I'm just going to take my V up longer and then connect my O. Because I have an O in it, I can't help but feel like it needs to be a circle, but I didn't have to do it that way. I could just do V, M, and I could do the M upside down. And then the other thing I'm going to ask you is to kind of shift your perspective. A big part of this Pisces into Aries time frame, but also this fall into spring, dark into light, old earth, new earth, is learning to shift your perspective and look at things differently. So if what had happened if for every one that you write, you turn the paper. You know, there's all different ways of doing this. You got to pick one that you're happy with. And then you can either redraw it on a different piece of paper, or I'm just going to, if I had scissors like a normal person, I'm just going to rip it out. So, got it ripped out. Everybody gives me a thumbs up when you're ready. So what I'm going to ask you to do is hold on to this until the weekend, once we cross into the 20th and the 21st. And then I'm going to do it now because I can redo this later. What I'm going to ask you to do, you can do it now, but like I said, you can do it in a couple days. It doesn't have to be right now. It's even worth to hang on to it and think about it for a couple days, and then let it submerge underwater. And the reason that I'm asking you to do this, anybody want to guess? What happens when you submerge things under water? It changes the... Nobody. Sorry.
The proper
middle school again. What?
perception?
Yes, perception. Oh my God! Yay! You get it? So that is how we've taken this art project in this sigil and put it into a ritual, stuck it underwater to change the perspective. And then how do you start looking at your life a little bit different? How can you start looking at the things that have happened to you and the stories that you've experienced and re-author them in a way that, hey, that thing doesn't get to create me. That thing that happened doesn't get to define me. I'm going to take it, change the perspective, rip it up, and rip up all the shit and make art out of it. That's what I've always said is like, I've spent my life taking all the bullshit that's happened to me and making it look pretty and turning it into art. And you could, you know, some people like to say, you know, if you take shit and spray paint it gold, it's still shit. But you could also say if you take shit and spray paint it gold, it's art. If, you know, men can put toilets into art galleries and call them art, then we can roll with this. So now you basically have here a little wet ball of paper. And what I would ask you to do this weekend is put a seed inside of it, if you can, or just hold on to it till you have time. And then you can plant that seed underground somewhere. And that is the ritual. So I don't do a ritual every new moon. A lot of times channeling is my ritual. But if I get this going and you all want to join every new moon, that I could. But right now I'm thinking about doing this kind of thing around the wheel of the year. And that's about 6 times a year. And if you don't know a lot about the wheel of the year, you can just look it up. Or it's on my, I share a bunch of stuff on that stuff on my Instagram from other people who are explaining it way better. But it's just the different times of the year. There's Ostara, which is spring equinox. Before this was Imbolc, that was February 1st. Is like the very, very like depths of winter, but also that's where the seeds are stirring underground. So that's where we came out of. Now we're moving into Ostara, where things are poking out of the ground. A lot of fertility stuff, eggs, things, bunnies, things like that. Then you move into Beltane, which is May Day, May 1st. That is the fire festival where everybody's wake. And it's also a lot about love. Then my summer ones I always jack up. Probably Lu or Lammas. Oh, of course, summer solstice. Duh, June 21st, summer solstice. Oops. That's a fun one. And then in August 1st is a harvest festival, Lammas or Lignasta, however you're following it. And then there's Mabon, September 22nd. harvest festival, Samhain, which is, where we get Halloween, but it's also where the veils really thin to communicate with our ancestors on the other side, and then Yule or winter solstice. So that's kind of where I'm thinking about doing all of these things. So thumbs up if everybody got your seeds and you're good to go here. All right, so now we're going to go into the channeling piece. I think of all the people here, Jess has probably been Jess is the only person to truly have seen me channel. So where I've been working from right now is called an alpha state, where I've been feeling very good. I did meditation, I did stuff to put myself into a really good state of mind. It's like almost a meditative state, but not quite. Most of the time we're walking around during the day in a beta state of our brain, like scientific state of our brain. We're wide awake. When I channel to this level where I'm going to be slipping into a theta state. And what's going to happen is it's a very deep level of trance. And one of the things that's been interesting is that I've started to try and draw and doodle and color and things while I'm in trance, and that kind of slows the process down for me, and it makes it less complicated. It makes it easier to follow, and so that's really interesting. So I'm going to keep doodling and drawing. That might just get reduced to scribbles or symbols. We'll find out. So I'm going to do a channeled message. And then after that, we'll ask for questions. And at that point, you're just going to go ahead and unmute yourselves. So you're going to have to ask questions out loud if you want to, because I'm not going to be able to bring myself quite to a state of trying to read. So thumbs up, everybody got that? That's how it works. And once I have, a virtual assistant on here that does all this and stuff, then they can unmute you. And if we get to where there's like 30, 40 people in there and there's just no way for everybody to ask a question, then we'll deal with that when the time comes. So this is definitely time to ask your questions if you want. The entity I channel is Simone. That is basically a conglomerate of all of my current, past, parallel lives, my highest self, or my soul consciousness, so to speak. And then other people I've channeled have been John, my dead ex-husband, on my guide team. That's fun. He mostly helps me with helping earthbound entities crossover. There's Doc, who is my dead neurologist / acupuncturist who died in a car accident. A lot of medical stuff comes from him. And then also, the proper term is galactics, but ETs, aliens, extraterrestrials, and then sometimes other lives come through, other entities. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell with all of its weirdness. What's fun in here is only, without knowing how everybody found me, most people don't know me because of channeling, or most people know me personally in here. So this is a whole different side that they actually don't see very much, because it's not something I do a lot, or I'm just hanging out, having fun, having a normal life. So, I don't just start channeling to people on the street. That's not a space I want to be in. I need to live my human life and enjoy it, in addition to doing my spiritual life and my channeling life. So I've asked a message to come through that is appropriate to right now, what's going on in the world, as a live recording, and then, live with you. And then the recording I will post unedited with tonight. And that's the thing that they've asked me for, is to stop editing so much. And that's really hard for me, because I've been a photographer and a video editor and, an artist, and I've done the art school things. So, learning to just go with this live and trust it. I have practiced live with people a few times. I've practiced with clients, of course, but this is a new approach. So, especially with people I don't know at all. So this is definitely going to be the time to ask your question. It does take me a few minutes to get into the trance, so it might be boring. Sorry. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. That's how it works. And then the other thing that I do is I have a symbol that I picture, and I draw it out as I ask my guides to come forward, the highest level of good, and the most divine purpose for everyone in this space now, and send a message to all who will be watching this now or in the future that it is what needs to be heard. Trish is working very hard to let herself go into the space of trance because she does get nervous, and she is also reminding us that we must talk slow enough so that you are able to understand her. So what we do now is, instead of only working with the voice, where it is our frequency of our voice matching the frequency of Trisha's voice in a way that you can hear it and understand it, we are also trying to match the frequency of her hands. Trisha spent much of her life as an artist and honing in her talent with her hands. So what is fascinating for us is, in our aspect of doing this, we are able to become more understanding of what it is to walk around in a dense human body, in which that you have to make it work. Where you are and what you are experiencing as humans right now in the world is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. It is actually one of the most difficult things that could possibly happen in a human body, is the shifting of the world that you're living in. You are literally living through it in your human body to a new earth, a new space, and you can guarantee you that if you are here and hearing this message, you are going to the new earth. And whether you believe that the old earth exists or the new earth exists, it is completely irrelevant, because you're going through it because you've kept your vibrational frequency high enough, despite every reason on the planet not to, that you still hope for a better world. And it is quite possibly because of in this room, because of the mothers in this room. There is mothers in this room and in this space. Mothers know what it means to create. And it does not matter whether you've created literally in your body, or if you've become a mother or an aunt or a caretaker to anyone in the world, then you have created a nurturing, mothering space. And that means you do know what it means to create something that has not existed before, because you are refusing, by being here, to pass on what you have experienced and the world that you've grown up within. You are refusing to pass it on to your children and your children's children, and we applaud you for that. And we want you to know that you are not alone in this, and we are here for you. And all of you have to do is ask for help and trust that your help is being heard by whatever entity you needed to be heard by, for whether it is from a Christian denomination where you needed to be heard by angels and the one God and Jesus, then that is who is hearing it, because that is real. If for you, you needed to be heard by Freya and Thor and Odin and Isis, whatever pantheon or time period of gods, then that is being heard as well, because it is important to understand that anything that has been created as a story, as a thought, exists. And we mean this both literally in some ways. These things have existed in the physical body, in the 3D earth, and in the planet, but also at an energetic frequency. We as humans, and we say we because we have all been human. Trisha's been human. As Simone, I have had many, many lives in the human body, whether we want to admit it or not, and not necessarily human here on Earth, but humanoid in the galactics, in that there are other planets like yours with physical spirits in bodies. They might not be as dense or lighter, but there is physical bodies. But there is also entities and galactics in the world that have vibrated to a point where it's much more like radio waves or the light frequency, in that it does not need to have a physical body. So just because something does not look like you and move like you and communicate with you in the same way does not mean that it does not exist. And we promise that we are here communicating with you as best we are able all the time. In fact, we are using Trish, with her permission, as a way to speak to you. And if this had happened probably 5-10 years ago, everybody around Trish would have probably been like, she's losing her shit and going crazy. And that's fair, because that is the world that you've grown up in and been trained to understand, that anybody who can speak in tongues, speak to spirits, channel aliens, whatever words you put on it, is wrong, which means how you move through the world and how you exist in the very first and Trish is would be wrong. And we say that Trish is not wrong and none of you are wrong. And we are so excited for you to be here and joining us and leveling up, so to speak, in your video game language for the video gamer that is here, leveling up your soul. And it is not in any way making you superior to anybody else's soul. It is just your only competition is your mirror, is your shadow, and understanding that the fear that moves through the human life with you is very real and is very valid because it has been hard to be human. But now the fear must be loved as if your fear was the size of an infant. If your fear was the size of an infant, would you run from it if it was crying? You would pick it up and hold it and carry it with you. You're not leaving your fear behind. You're simply loving it enough to take it with you and trust that you're stepping into the new earth and the new life. And there are so many things happening in the world that would wish you believe otherwise. And what we would say to that is when people have been moving from a place of fear, fear has grown so big that either they're running, and they are making any excuse that they can because they're so afraid that they're just in survival mode and they do not care who they hurt, or they're doubling down and they're making their last attempts at control. And that is what you're seeing playing out in the world, and that does not make it any easier to live in. Much like birthing a child, the old earth is birthing the new earth, and it comes through with pain, with blood, but also with love. And that is what it is happening in your world right now. And this moment in time, and we say moment because, in the grand scheme of time, it is small, but in this moment, which will feel like much longer than a moment and does feel like much longer than a moment. And Trisha's saying, yeah, the whole 40 years of this lifetime. She's yelling that from the back of her mind. She likes to ad-lib. We have a good relationship with each other. Yes. So yes, for many of you, it probably feels like your entire lifetime. But we promise you that you are going to see the new earth come into existence for those children, and it will be worth it. What questions do you have? If you do not call them out, there will be no questions answered. We're going to Trish says, if you don't know who is being channeled right now, it is a combination of Simone, her highest soul consciousness, which is collected to all lifetimes across all things, and also members of galactic team. Her particular galactic team, where her soul origins are from an Andromedan origin with somewhat Lyran. These are other races or types of extraterrestrials that have existed throughout time. And when it means her soul origin, it means the very first incarnation or body that her soul was born into was that of Andromedan and Lyran descent in the Andromeda galaxy during the Lyran Wars. And that is what your Earth certainly calls New Age or starseed theology. New Earth, New Age, starseed theology, which you can look up, particularly with Dolores Cannon, is the soul that was on the Earth and able to work in many ways to deliver these messages and prepare for Trish, people like Trish, to be able to come forward in front of her friends and family and strangers to talk about these things that have have sounded insane but are in fact reality. And Trish is back there panicking now that you're all going to stop talking to her after this. So there's still a fear that she carries with her, and yet she is doing it anyway. So that is very much what it is like to co-create a new earth. It's picking up your fear and, with love and moving forward. Are there questions?
I don't have a question. I just have a statement, and I just want to say, thank you for both Trish and you guys for doing this and taking the time, and um, I really appreciate it personally. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. You are very amazing as well. When you were speaking, we could feel the ripples in Trisha's heart space as the connections were being made to connect on the frequency. And it's a very different feeling for both Trish and us channeling in this way, because we've not actually talked to many people directly while channeling, with the exception of Jess and Greg. So it is a very interesting feeling. Is there any other questions or statements that would like to be made before uh, we leave? All right. Woo. So they're very blunt. Always make Greg laugh. Simone is the first, uh, my soul self or highest self was the first person to show up. And I first heard her the loudest and the most clearest, meaning that I finally admitted that it was not just my imagination that I was hearing, because most one of the things people ask is, how do you know the difference between channeling and your imagination? And it is really hard at first, because the voices that are of the highest divine self sound most like us. Like Simone's voice sounds almost exactly like mine in my head. And what I've started to note, and then outside entities, I hear it behind my ear, or like a buzzing, like an earthbound entity or something that's needed help. Allowing something to channel through is different than trying to get my attention. And my imagination, my internal thoughts, my anxieties seems to come from this side of my ears or my mind. So it takes some time to learn. Do you have anything they want to say in the recording before we go into the closing of the recording, and then we'll just go back to just the circle with us, just the enclosed community? I got anything? Okay, so this is going to be the boring stuff that I got to do every time, because otherwise then I can't get enough people to sign up and join. And so it's my website. If you're not already aware of it, it is sassybonesep.com. And you could just enter your email here, and that's how you join my community and you start getting my emails. Then it's like, here's all the different things that I do, some of my arts integrated healing workshops and things that I can do. This talks about my channeling, intuitive guidance, my integrated arts, creative healing, what I do as a well-being practitioner, including energy work, herbalism. I have a technology called New Vision, which is a frequency scanner, and then it sends you back frequencies and biomatching. It also helps me give suggestions. So this is great for anybody who's got chronic autoimmune issues, things like that. I'm also in the process of getting quantum healing hypnosis technique certified to do past life and healing regression. That would have to be done in person, but a lot of this stuff can be done online. And then, if you want to work on your conscious love and intimacy education, or if you need a medium or land work, or just really want to work on your own soul direction and soul growth, you need to do a soul journey with integration. I can help with integration guidance and assisting, and then ceremonies, rituals, officiants, eulogies, divorce rituals, coming of age rituals, custom ceremonies. I can do interfaith rites as someone who has been in seminary and finishing up my, I am ordained through New Life Church to do Universal Life Church to do rituals. And then I'm working on my custom creation commissions. My Etsy's kind of pathetic right now, but I'm working on that next. And then you can go over here to book any of my services. Thinking about it. That's where all my services are. If it wants to load, follow me on Instagram, and then you can get to the Simone frequency on YouTube or on my website or Spotify, Apple, all of that. And that is my channel, Podcast for the New Earth. I just finished up season 1, so you can catch up on all of those before we start season 2. And then this is where you join my community. If you don't want to, you can just hit just lurking, let me in. It'd probably be helpful. And that's just, I'm going to type an email here. And then you'd subscribe, and then you can do the free version. You can do the $8.11 a month, which means coming to all my live stuff. And then there's an annual version, which is less if you want to pay. Or then there's just, this is like my founders, if you just want to give me extra money, and then you can pay. But I'm just going to hit none here, and then you just continue, and then you have to confirm your email address, blah, blah, blah. After all of that, you're in the community. And I'm going to skip over so you can see what that looks like. So then this is the community. There's a chat for premium members. This is where all my podcasts live, my notes. And what this does is it emails you all of this stuff straight to your inbox, so you don't have to worry about it. But then this is where you would also join my chat. It's got all my older posts in it and talks about me. So this is where we actually have our community, and then you get all of our updates, everything sent to you. Yeah. And then my podcast and all of my stuff also uploads to YouTube as well. But this is just the easiest way to watch it in here. And it gives you all the information, all the links. This is where everything lives. So,
welcome to this episode of The Simone Frequency, a channel podcast.
I'm going to close all that out and stop sharing. And so thank you for joining me on this chat channel and Create Circle, where we did a new moon and a star ritual, and then we had some live channel with Q&A, and I will send a notice out for when the next one's going to be. I'm your host, Trish Simone Wild, and thanks for being here. I have no idea if that's going to work. We'll figure that out later.
Thanks for having us.